Welcome on back, everyone. Episode 99 of the top 5 PvP battles. If you guys want to send in your own clips, you can send them to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. And starting us off today, we have got Titan CJ, and he is delivering the swift justice of the Bombblade in Cyrodiil. One big smack on the group as they're repairing the door, but that's not enough for Titan. He's going to just reset his bomb here. He's got the proc stat ready, goes for the ultimate, and a massive smack again, easily getting enough ultimate for another tether. And he just slinks away again, just right back into cloak, waits out the puddle there, just line of sights it. He resets his proc stat and just cloaks his way right back to the group. They're still picking up the bodies. They're nice and stacked for him. And there's a huge stun into the proc stat and a massive vicious death explosion. Tons of blue players down again. And Titan's not done. He just continues to cloak right back up here, resets his buffs, sets another proc stat down. And he's going to work his way right back in. They're still picking up the dead bodies here. And another huge smack on the group. More blue players going down. This time, though, they're not going to let Titan get away. They just start spamming and spamming. And Titan's unable to re-enter stealth. And down he goes. Now, moving on to our next clip, we've got Fullyy, and he's playing some Stamina Dragon Knight outside of Bruma here. And he goes for a nice leap there. Goes for the Executioner. Brings the player down. And he just resets his buffs here. Lots of red players coming down the hill here. And Fully's just going to kite back behind the rock. And it looks like the player either got rezzed right away or he just respawned from Bruma. And Fully's just going to reset his buffs here and just try to fence with these red a little bit. They're just being a little shy here. I actually cut a bit of this clip. Fully's been fighting these guys for a little while. And they know that he's got some burst on this build. And he pushes his way out into the middle of the group. There's a nice leap. He stuns 2 players, almost getting the kill on that Nightblade. But he's unable to stick that out, and he makes a good call, just heading back behind the rock here, resetting himself, and seeing if any red players will follow him. This one guy coming around the corner, splitting away from the group. Fullyy tries to dot him up, gets a good off balance there with the dizzy swing, trying to connect that heavy attack. Unfortunately, the enemy player dodging all the attacks there, and Fullyy's finding himself a little bit more open here. He tries to go for a bit of a combo on that player, but right away pulls out, taking a lot of pressure from these guys, just backing up behind the terrain here. And the enemy Nightblade overextending a little bit from the group. He has a great block on Fully's ultimate there, and then continues to spam ambush on him. And Fullyy just does a good job healing up, using his immunity to snare there to just kite further behind the rock, getting away from the group. But the enemy red group here is just giving him not a lot of space to work with. They're surrounding him really heavily. Fullyy just some really nice footwork here. He's watching how the group's moving, constantly moving behind their kind of direction. And he gets up on top here, getting a few dizzy swings into the player on the rocks there, finishing him off with the Executioner. And the red players, they are all just surrounding the rocks here. Fully's just making sure to keep his heal up all the time. Gets another great opportunity with his vigor up, goes into that leap, catches that player with the Executioner. Another red player goes down, and Fullyy just backing up behind the rocks here. Really good positioning, just managing to split the group up a little bit, especially as these guys are busy trying to pick up the players. Gets a great interrupt, starts going for the dot up on this player. There's the leap into the execute, another red player down. And Fullyy just gets behind the rocks a little bit, resets his buffs here, and he pushes right back out. Just 3 red players left, it looks like. Fullyy just healing himself up, being a little patient here. The enemy Templar keeping that healing bubble up. Fullyy decides he's going to target this player in the back, throws down the dots, hits him with that dizzy swing, and there's the stun at the end of that dizzy too with the partial charged heavy. And Fully's just got 2 enemy players left here. He goes for the leap on top of the enemy Templar. And the enemy Plar looks like he might be low on gas here after healing himself and all the other players. Fullyy just chewing through him there, bringing him down, and gets the interrupt on the last player attempting the res. Really nice stuff. Now moving on to our next fight, we have got Murderologist ESO. And he is playing outside of Sejanus here, and there's a bunch of red players going for the siege. I love that approach. He just kind of pokes him a little bit. The red player turns around, and then he puts the pressure in, killing that player, sets up another elemental weapon combo into Streak on that player. Really deadly stuff. Streak being a completely unavoidable stun. And that elemental weapon combo can do a lot of damage, and Murderologist just kind of feeding this low health Templar here some attacks. The enemy player just spamming Breath of Life, and Murderologist giving a couple bashes on the guy that's attempting the res there. There's another interrupt, and that player is just committed to picking that body up. Murderologist sees lots of players just kind of converging on the body. He's unable to prevent that res there. I think he just didn't want to blow the stam, knowing that he can't hold this position anyway. And he just pulls out behind these pillars here. Starts putting a bit of pressure in the player that's on siege there. They're just feeding him the dark flares there. Murderologist actually caught low HP here. He's got to be careful. There is an enemy Templar quickly healing up, and there's the Radiant. He managed to LOS the Radiant on the side of the building there. Really, really good call. And he just quickly heals up using his Dark Deal and just resets his shields here. Teleporting just behind the pillars, just being patient, trying to find that good opportunity to open up on a combo. And here's an enemy Sork that streaks out into the open. Murderologist sets down the curse, goes for the execute right away. I think he wanted to give him the elemental weapon poke, but he sees all the red players start to pull out of the pillars here too, and Murderologist goes for a couple streaks, doing a great job just kind of managing this distance from the group. A really, really good strategy on the Mag Sork, just kind of using that maximum distance and taking advantage of your streak and your speed and mobility. And now the players are kind of strung out here. They're not very grouped up. They're a little split up. A few have gone back to siege. A huge combo there with the overload light attacks into the streak, and Murderologist streaks into this guy as well, feeds him the light attack into the frags. Another player goes down, and it's just him and the enemy Sork left as the rest of the red are back on siege, and they're not paying attention to what's happening over here. Murderologist goes for a huge combo on that Sork and streaks through him to seal the deal. Now he's got just 2 red players left on siege here. He starts feeding this guy the curse. Wanted to go for some elemental weapons as well. Sees this one going for the res just right away, switching back to him, not allowing him to pick up all his dead friends here, and he just starts feeding him the elemental weapons and the damage. This enemy player here trying to go for the res too. Murderologist unable to stop it. It looked like that was actually a Templar res. That was very, very fast. This guy's going for the res again. Murderologist doesn't get the bash in time. Oh my gosh, he's got to be running Kagranax. That's an insanely fast res speed. Picks him up in just a few seconds. This next player getting rezzed as well. Murderologist just kind of caught there. So many reses so quickly. That's really tough to deal with when you're by yourself. And just like that, the great situation's turned into a dangerous one again, and he just starts feeding this player that's kind of split from the group. Not sure why he decided to run away like that. Maybe just to buy the red players a little bit more time to make sure everybody was okay. But either way, quickly bringing that guy down and just healing up here. Caught with the interrupt there on his Dark Deal. Murderologist just stacking the shields, showing off that he's a Sork. He can tank that damage. And in between his stacks here, he's just kind of cursing these guys up, looking for a good opportunity. He's got that overload light attack, I believe. Huge damage there. The enemy player going down, and he starts feeding elemental weapons to the next guy here. Catches him for a lot of damage too. There's the streak. Really nice placement, and then a frags to the face for the last player. And he's wiped the group again. The enemy player here trying to stealth up. I think he wants to attempt to go for those reses. Murderologist just keeping the curse on top of this guy and feeding him those elemental weapons. There's the stun into the execute, and he kills all of them. Really great fight. Now moving on to the next clip, we've got VexxPK bringing us some more Stamina Dragon Knight. And he's got a bunch of red players chasing him outside this keep. He goes for a nice leap around the corner there. The red players putting a ton of pressure in here. Vex actually taking a ton of damage, but look at that healing power. He's just doing a great job kiting it, keeping that vigor up. So much healing going off, and he's just barely hanging on here. So much damage from these red, beautiful dot up there into the fossilize, and then the finish there. And Vex manages to just stick that one out, keeping his heal up the whole time here. The enemy red players here putting a lot of pressure, and look at how he's using this pole here to just LOS all the damage from these ranged attackers while he does his best to mitigate these melee fighters. A great dot up there again. Unfortunately, Vex fell off the edge. He wasn't able to get the execute, but he just comes back around the corner using that pillar for LOS again. And Vex just kind of dotting up all the targets he can, taking a ton of damage, going right into the vigor, and he is super low on resource, just gets the potion there, and a beautiful heavy attack just to pop that stambar right back up, and Vex just continues to apply pressure to this enemy Sork. A great dot up into the fossilize, the execute, down he goes. Vex leaps onto the other enemy Sork at a distance here, just soaking up the damage from these guys. Oh my gosh, he's just getting smacked. And just look at those insane 4K healing ticks. He's got so much healing power. A 2.9K, 3.3K no crit vigor. Wow, he just manages to tank that out, get to safety, reset, and re-dot these guys up. Goes for the re-engage. Huge damage on that player there with the heavy attack into the dot up. He goes down. Vex dots the next player up there, getting caught by the stun. He's a little lower on stamina, but that's okay, I think. He's pushed right out into the last player. Goes for that vigor. The enemy player dumping the Dawnbreaker, and just look how he soaks that up. Goes for the leap to finish him off. Beautiful stuff. And now for our final clip, we have got animation canceling, and he's been playing some Stamina Nightblade, hanging out in the sewers here, getting a nice gank on that first red player. And now he's got a ton of red players that are not happy about that. He just starts doing a good job kiting his way back in, keeping his heals up. And the enemy players come with a lot of damage there. Annie dropping super low HP, just getting to his healing ult at the end of it there. And then right away turning on the back end of the group, feeding that guy the surprise attack into the Merciless Resolve. And gets him for a nice smack, one red player down. And Annie doing a good job just entering stealth, changing directions, being very hard for this enemy group to track. And he's got his shade down, I think, as well in the corner there. Just kind of keeping his buffs up, looking for the opportunity. There's an enemy warden from behind with his ultimate, trying to catch Annie and prevent him from re-entering stealth. But Annie gets a good stun there and kills him through the ultimate with the surprise attack. And then right away goes on to the next player there, catching him with the surprise attack stun, feeding him a couple more. And he goes down as well. The enemy Nightblade goes into stealth. This guy trying to go for the res right away. And it looks like he just stops that res as soon as he noticed that Annie was there. Really good call. And Annie just feeds this guy a huge ultimate into the light attack and then moves right away onto the next target. Very efficient here. He's being very aggressive. And as soon as somebody goes down, he's right away switching to the next guy and keeping the pressure up on these red players. Making himself a very dangerous target, I think, for the red to attack. The enemy Templar just spamming jabs. He cannot win that DPS battle, though. Annie's just feeding him those surprise attacks and kind of sidestepping the jabs with his movement. And there's a ton of red players on the outside. Annie, unfortunately, picking up the mark from the enemy Nightblade. It is only going to be the enemy Nightblade that can see him at the beginning of that mark, though. So it does still help for him to stealth out of there. And there's that Nightblade trying to go for a gank from stealth. Annie responds by going for his counter stealth there. And he tries to pop him out of stealth, but there's a ton of players on the doorway. He just kind of retreats up the stairway and resets his buff, cloaks. And there's one enemy red player trying to run away here still. Annie just feeds him a couple attacks. And man... And I bet he wish he has a gap closer right now. I know he's running the Snow Treaders so that he can't actually sprint while he's in combat. But Annie finds himself getting quickly surrounded by the red players there. He manages to get a good cloak up, fully charged heavy attack into the ultimate, a light attack, a spectral arrow. That is the biggest combo you can put out on a Stamina Nightblade like this. And he just drops that enemy player right away, putting the pressure into the next one, finishing him off with that spectral arrow. Beautiful stuff. Now for the bonus clip, we've got a Pumper ESO with a beautiful tank clip here for you guys. I want to thank everybody for sending those clips in. Of course, we've got links to everyone featured in today's episode down below, so be sure to check out these fine ESO content creators. Of course, if you guys want to send in your own clips or if you want to send in a build to be featured, you can send that to KristoferESO@hotmail.com. Check out my website, KristoferESO.com, for written guides to my builds and a hub for all my content. You can catch me on Twitch for that live gameplay, and give me a follow on Twitter if you guys want to keep up to date with me. We are sponsored by What the Fast. They're a VPN for gamers. They can give you better ping to your favorite games, and they're free to try for the first month. A link down below for you guys. And then last but not least, a massive thank you, and of course a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You guys allow me to do this job for a living, so thank you guys so much for supporting the show and making this a reality. Thank you everybody for tuning in and watching today. As always, I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Episode 100 coming up next. I hope you guys like it. Goodbye, everybody.